Welcome back, everyone. In this lecture, we're going to go over the solutions to the Pandas exercise questions. Let's get started. Okay, here we are at the exercise notebook. Let's go ahead and begin with the first couple of tasks. First, we want to import pandas. So we'll say import pandas as PD, run that. Then the next task is to read in the African Econ Crisis.csv file. So to do that, I'm going to say df is equal to pd.readcsv. And since I'm located in the exact same location as the CSV file, I just need to say AFR, and I should be able to autocomplete this. So there we go. And let's display the first 5 rows of the data set. We can do this by saying df.head. There we have it. We can see the different columns, and we can notice that it's actually organized, looks like alphabetically by country and then by year. So how many countries are represented in this data set? Lots of different ways we can do this. One easy way is to say df, go ahead and grab the country column, and just ask unique. Actually, ask nunique, and that returns back 13. The very next question asks, what are the countries represented? In which case, you want just unique. And that returns back this array of the unique countries represented in the data set. Next question was, what country had the highest annual CPI inflation rate? And what was the inflation rate? So, how can we do this? Well, what we could do is sort values by inflation annual CPI, which is the column that corresponds to annual CPI inflation rate. And if you had questions on that, you could just look at the bullet points and read what the columns represent. But what I'm going to do is just say df sort values. And then I will say by inflation underscore annual underscore CPI. And we'll say ascending is equal to false. So if I run that, that sorts everything by that highest annual CPI inflation rate. I just want to know the country. So what I could do is just say head of 1, which grabs the very first row on this, which is Zimbabwe. And if I really wanted to, I could then ask for the country, and that gives me back Zimbabwe. But here we can see the results are quite clearly just Zimbabwe. If you want, you can go ahead and grab that singular country out of it. Okay. In what year did Kenya have its first system crises? So what we need to do is first filter out this data frame. So my approach would be the following. First, only grab the entries for Kenya. And we can do this by saying df country is equal to Kenya. And the other condition I want, so we'll say ampersand, is where it actually had a systemic crisis. So we'll say systemic crisis is equal to 1. Wrap that up in parentheses for the both of them, and then filter out. So now, this remaining data frame right here, if we take a look at it, only has where the country Kenya had a systemic crisis. And then, if I wanted to know in what year did it have its first one, I would sort by year. So I could say dot sort values by year. In this case, it doesn't actually make a difference. It was already sorted by country, then by year. And if I really wanted to, I could say .iloc 0, and that will return back the very first item here, and then we could get the year from that, 1985. So if I really wanted to, I could continue, pass in year off of this series, run that just to get 1985. Or you don't need that extra stuff and just read it off as shown here. It's up to you. Okay, so we know that in what year can you have its first system crisis? The answer is 1985. Lots of different ways you can get this one. Next was, how many yearly systemic crises have occurred per country? What we can do here is go ahead and grab a subset of the data frame where we actually have a crisis. So we can say crises is equal to df where systemic crisis is equal to 1 or true. Then once we do that, we'll go ahead and different ways we can do this. We could say crises, go ahead and group by the country, and then just count the instances per country. So if you run that, you'll notice that it counts it for each column, which theoretically should be the same values, essentially same number of instances per column. So then you can just grab any column you want here, such as systemic underscore crises, run that, and those are the answers. Okay, next was, how many years did Zimbabwe have a sovereign external debt default occur? So again, just doing a little bit of filtering here. We're going to first only grab Zimbabwe. So we'll say where the country is equal to Zimbabwe. You could also use the country codes if you wanted to. So that's our first condition for the filtering. Next, what I want to know is where the sovereign external debt default, I just tabbed autocomplete that, also occurred. So where that's equal to 1. And then if I grab this and run it, this returns back all the rows where my country is Zimbabwe, and we did had a sovereign external debt default occur. And all I want to know is how many of them are. So I can just check the length of this, and it returns back 30. So in 30 total years, Zimbabwe had a sovereign external debt default occur. Now, the one thing to pay attention to is depending on how this data was organized, you should be careful to make sure there weren't any repeat years. But in this case, because we can see the data is organized by year, then there are no repeated years. That's the only danger there in just taking the length of this guy. Okay, the last one was in what year did Algeria have its highest exchange rate? Well, lots of different ways we can do this one. One way is to simply filter out where the country is equal to Algeria. So now I have all the entrances of Algeria. I'll go ahead and sort values by the exchange rate. So we can say EXCH underscore USD. We'll set ascending equal to false. And really I'm just interested in the first one of this. So this is the highest exchange rate it ever had, according to this data. Okay, so that's it. Keep in mind, lots of different ways you could answer a lot of these questions. And also, you could always just keep filtering out a lot of these. So here, the real answer is 2014. So if I really wanted to, I could add in year here to return back just 2014. It's really up to you how deep into the weeds you want to go, but I would encourage you to really explore this data set and explore the links that we have provided for you at the very top of this notebook to play around with it further. Thanks, and I'll see you at the next section of the course.